Ethan sat at his desk, the soft hum of the space station surrounding him like a constant heartbeat. The station was quiet at this hour. Most humans were sleeping, or maybe exploring virtual worlds, or keeping their thoughts to themselves. But Ethan liked the night. He liked how it made him feel, small and bigger at the same time. Smaller because the station stretched endlessly beyond his room. Bigger because in that silence he could think, tinker, and create. He had spent the evening repairing an old communication device, his fingers moving carefully over wires and circuits, making sure nothing shorted or sparked. Outside his window, the planet below glowed softly, half in shadow, half in sunlight, like it was breathing slowly. He loved looking at it. He loved feeling like he was part of something vast, something almost infinite. He yawned and stretched, brushing strands of hair from his eyes. Midnight was near, and he was ready to call it a night. He placed the last wire carefully, checking the device one final time. Then he heard it. A quiet, almost whisper-like sound. At first, he thought it was the station settling. Metal shifted sometimes with the temperature, creating tiny groans. But then he heard it again. Closer this time, almost deliberate. He froze. "Hello," he called softly, unsure if he was imagining things. The air in his room seemed to shimmer. He blinked, and then he saw it. A figure, standing at the foot of his bed. She was tall, taller than any human he had seen up close. Her skin glowed faintly, with patterns of light running across her arms and shoulders like rivers of liquid energy. Her hair floated slightly, though there was no wind, and her eyes were wide and shimmering in the dim light. Ethan's mind raced. Was this some kind of hologram? A hallucination? But she moved carefully, slowly, her gaze fixed on him. And then he heard it clearly. A soft whisper that made his heart skip a beat. "Can you please clean me?" Ethan blinked. His first thought was confusion, then a bit of fear. "Clean you?" he repeated, his voice shaky. The figure nodded slightly, her glowing eyes soft and almost pleading. She extended her hands, palms open, toward him. They glimmered in the dim light, not like human skin, but like something made of crystal and energy. Ethan swallowed hard. I don't understand," he said. "What? What happened to you?" The alien woman, who he now realized was definitely alive and not a projection, tilted her head. She made a series of soft, melodic sounds. Then, with a small gesture, she indicated the layers of her suit and the glowing stains that covered it. Dirt? Residue? Something alien and strange, but clearly messy. Ethan realized she wasn't just asking for help. She needed it. And somehow, he understood that she trusted him enough to ask. He stood slowly, keeping his hands visible, and stepped closer. "Okay," he said softly. "I'll help. I don't know how, but I'll try." She nodded again, her glowing eyes reflecting a kind of relief that made Ethan's chest tighten. He moved to his small supply cabinet and began gathering soft cloths, gentle cleansers, and whatever he could find that might work on whatever she was. As he worked, she stood quietly, her presence both calming and strange. The light from her skin shifted with her breathing, pulsing softly in rhythm. Ethan felt like he was in the presence of something ancient, intelligent, and incredibly fragile. "This is going to be okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "I've cleaned machines. I've cleaned labs. This should be possible." He dipped a cloth in a small bowl of warm water, careful not to touch her directly yet. She watched him, her head tilting slightly, as if studying the very way he moved. Ethan felt suddenly self-conscious. Was he doing something wrong? Was he going to hurt her accidentally? The... the stuff covering your suit? She tilted her head again, and a soft, shimmering pattern ran across her chest. It looked like a form of nodding, but through lights and colors instead of words.
Ethan exhaled. Okay.
Step 1. Gentle cleaning. Step 2. Figure out why you're here and how to get you back home. He smiled nervously. Step 2 might take a while. The alien woman made a sound, something like a sigh, and slowly leaned forward. Ethan gently guided the cloth toward her suit. It absorbed the residue quickly, leaving a faint trace of light behind. He worked carefully, making sure not to touch her skin directly, only the suit. The patterns on her skin changed color as he worked, brightening and dimming in a soft rhythm. He realized it was some kind of communication, or maybe emotion, or maybe both. Time seemed to stretch. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. The only sounds were the faint hum of the station, the soft swish of the cloth, and the occasional melodic sound she made. Ethan found himself fascinated. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, and yet there was something human in the way she reacted to gentle touch, to careful movement, to kindness. Finally, the residue was gone, or at least most of it. Her suit gleamed faintly in the dim light, smooth and iridescent. She raised her hands slightly, and the patterns on her skin shifted, creating shapes that reminded Ethan of constellations. He blinked. Was she smiling? You're clean, he said, feeling awkward. I hope that's what you wanted. The alien woman's voice, when she spoke again, was soft but melodic. You. The translator on his wrist interpreted the sound instantly. Ethan had forgotten he was even wearing it. Thank me? He asked, smiling nervously. I just helped a little. Are you okay? You don't look hurt, but... She tilted her head again, and a small glow spread from her chest across her arms. It was beautiful, like sunlight through crystal. Ethan realized she was showing trust, maybe even gratitude. And in that moment, he felt a strange bond forming, fragile but real. I need to find my ship, she said finally, her voice still soft. It is damaged. I could not reach home. Ethan nodded. We'll figure it out, he said. Don't worry. We'll fix it, together. He didn't know exactly how, but he felt certain he would try. Humans had a way of figuring things out, even when the odds seemed impossible. The alien woman studied him for a moment, then stepped closer. Carefully, she lowered her hands toward the floor, and Ethan noticed something strange. Her feet didn't quite touch the ground. They hovered slightly, as if gravity were different for her. He reached out instinctively, but she gestured for him to stop. She could move on her own. I'm Ethan, he said, extending a hand. She paused, then touched it lightly with one of her glowing fingers. It didn't feel like a human touch. It was cooler, smoother, and somehow alive with energy. Ethan felt a small shock run up his arm. Not painful, just surprising. She pulled back gently, then nodded, a small gesture that seemed like acknowledgement. Leah, she said softly. The translator confirmed it. Ethan smiled. Lyra.
Okay, I think we're going to get along just fine.
She tilted her head, and the glowing patterns on her arms shifted again. Ethan thought it looked like laughter, but it was hard to tell. He moved toward his small workshop area. We'll need tools and maybe some cleaning solutions and, some light sources.
Your suit is, amazing, but we need to see it better.
He grabbed a few items quickly, explaining what he was doing as he worked. Lyra watched silently, occasionally nodding, occasionally making a melodic sound that the translator couldn't fully capture. Hours passed, or maybe It was minutes. Time seemed different with her there. Ethan cleaned what he could, repaired minor damage to the suit, and tried to understand the alien technology embedded within. He was careful not to touch too much directly. Everything about her was delicate and strange, but also inspiring. When he finally sat back, exhausted, he looked at Lyra. She was clean, stable, and no longer covered in the residue. She floated slightly, observing him with what Ethan thought was admiration. "You're amazing," he said softly. I don't know what your species is or how you got here, but I'm glad I could help." She tilted her head and a soft glow spread across her chest. The translator finally caught the meaning. Humans are kind.
I did not expect this.
Ethan smiled. Kindness is just something we do. Sometimes we mess up, sometimes we get it right, but it feels good when it works. Lyra made another melodic sound, softer this time, almost thoughtful. She looked around the room, then back at Ethan, as if weighing him, understanding him, trusting him. And in that trust, Ethan felt something he had never felt before. The weight and beauty of being part of something bigger, something that reached beyond stars, beyond planets, beyond himself. Finally, the first rays of light from the planet below began to touch the space station. Midnight had passed, but Ethan and Lyra barely noticed. They had crossed the threshold together. From fear to understanding, from confusion to trust, and neither of them realized that this small moment in a quiet room on a distant station would be the start of something extraordinary, something that could change the way humans looked at the universe and themselves. Ethan rubbed his eyes, still staring at her.
Okay, Lyra, tomorrow we figure out your ship. Tonight, I think we just rest.
"You deserve it." She nodded, floating slightly closer, her glowing form shimmering softly. Ethan turned off the lights and lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. For the first time in years, he felt that the universe was alive, and he was not just a passenger, but a part of it. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Ethan woke to the soft hum of the station, feeling both restless and excited. He glanced at the corner of his room where Lyra floated gently, her glowing skin casting faint patterns across the walls. She seemed almost serene now, her earlier anxiety gone, replaced with a quiet curiosity. Her eyes followed him as he stretched and rubbed his face, and for some reason, Ethan felt that she was studying him as much as he was studying her. "I think we should start figuring out your ship today," he said, his voice still soft. Lyra tilted her head, the glowing patterns on her arms shifting rhythmically, a clear sign she understood. He gathered his tools, carefully placing them on a workbench, while Lyra watched, hovering silently. Ethan knew he had to be methodical. Any mistake could damage the alien technology she carried, and worse, it could harm her. "First, I need to understand your suit better," he said. He gently tapped on the glowing material covering her arms. "I've never seen anything like this." "It's alive, in a way." Lyra responded with a melodic sound, and the patterns on her skin shifted again. The translator on Ethan's wrist interpreted it as a question. "Alive?"
"Yeah," Ethan said, trying to find the right words.
"It reacts to touch. It changes color."
It responds like a living organism.
She floated closer, tilting her head. "It is part of me, part of my species." Ethan nodded. He could see that her suit wasn't just protective armor. It was integrated into her body, a symbiosis of biology and technology. That meant repairing her ship wasn't just about fixing machinery. It might involve understanding a new form of life entirely. "Okay," he said, thinking aloud. "Step 1, understand you. Step 2, figure out your ship." "Step 3, get you home. That's a lot, but we can do it."
Lyra emitted a sound that the translator interpreted as a soft chuckle.
Ethan felt a smile tug at his lips. Her humor was subtle, but it was there, showing that even in an alien, advanced species, there was room for lightness. They spent hours together, Ethan examining her suit while Lyra explained, as best as the translator could convey, the basic functions of her technology. She showed him how energy flowed through the circuits in her skin, how her body could adapt to different environments, and how the patterns she emitted could communicate complex emotions or instructions. Ethan took careful notes, marveling at the complexity and elegance of it all. As the day progressed, Ethan realized that Lyra wasn't just beautiful or mysterious. She was intelligent in ways humans could barely imagine. She didn't just respond. She adapted. She learned. She solved small problems on her own, often with a subtle gesture or a shift in her glowing patterns that Ethan quickly learned to read.
"Your species! You must be incredible," he said during a break, leaning back in his chair. "If this is what your technology looks like in a suit, imagine what your ships and stations are like."
Lyra's chest glowed brighter for a moment. The translator interpreted it. "You think humans can understand it?" Ethan shrugged. "Maybe not fully, but we try. We always try." She emitted a melodic sound that Ethan interpreted as amusement. He laughed quietly. Somehow, the shared understanding, even with so many gaps between them, made him feel a connection he had never experienced before. By late afternoon, they moved on to the station's engineering bay. Ethan wheeled in tools, power sources, and diagnostic devices, while Lyra hovered near the bay's central area. Her presence caused the station's sensors to spike slightly, drawing curious glances from the few humans who worked in the engineering section.
Ethan quickly explained to Lyra, "We'll keep it simple. First, check for basic damage. Then, assess energy systems. Then, we'll see."
Lyra nodded, floating near the damaged section of her spacecraft. The ship was smaller than a human freighter, but larger than most personal shuttles. Its hull was scratched and dented, and there were strange patches of energy distortion along its frame. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes widening as he observed the alien engineering. "Your technology, it's amazing," he murmured.
"The materials, the energy flow. I've never seen anything like this, and yet it's also fragile."
She responded with a soft melodic hum, and the translator interpreted, "It is delicate but strong, like life." Ethan nodded. He could see that in every detail. The way energy moved like blood through circuits. The way the hull absorbed impacts without completely breaking. The way the ship seemed almost aware of its surroundings. Repairing it would require careful observation, precision, and patience. They began their work. Ethan focused on structural repairs, using human tools to fix dents and cracks as best as he could. Lyra guided him with subtle gestures, showing him where to apply pressure, how to manipulate the materials, and when to let energy systems stabilize on their own. He realized quickly that she wasn't just giving instructions. She was teaching him a new way to approach problem-solving, one that combined instinct, observation, and a deep understanding of her technology. Hours passed. Sparks flew occasionally, and lights blinked as systems powered on and off. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead.
"This is harder than I thought," he said, laughing nervously. "I've repaired machines before, but this is
next level." Lyra tilted her head, her glowing patterns shifting in a way that felt like encouragement. The translator interpreted, "You learn quickly. Humans are persistent." Ethan smiled.
"Yeah, we are. Persistent.
Sometimes stubborn. But I like to think we're also curious and helpful." By evening, they had repaired the hull enough to run initial energy diagnostics. Ethan stepped back as Lyra activated the ship's systems. Light pulsed along the hull, energy flowing smoothly through circuits that only moments ago had been damaged. The ship seemed to hum, almost alive, as if acknowledging their work.
"You have done well," Lyra said, her voice soft but filled with emotion. The translator added, "Your species." "You surprise me." Ethan felt the flush of pride.
"Thanks, but we're not done yet. There's still navigation, propulsion, and whatever got you into trouble in the first place." Lyra's glow dimmed slightly, a sign of fatigue or thoughtfulness. Danger still exists. "I need to return to my people. They..."
"Wait for me! They trust me!"
Ethan nodded. "We'll make sure you get there. I promise." He paused, studying her. "Do they know you're stranded here?" She shook her head slightly.
No. They think I am lost.
They search, but humans unknown. They wary. Ethan's mind raced. The human authorities on the station might also be wary of her. And yet here she was, trusting him completely.
"We'll be careful," he said. "We'll make sure nobody misunderstands."
They spent the next few hours running tests on the ship's energy systems. Ethan learned to interpret Lyra's subtle gestures and glowing patterns as instructions. He discovered that her ship could adapt to environmental changes automatically, but only if it was balanced correctly. A small misalignment could cause energy feedback that would damage the system, or worse. Lyra hovered close, guiding him, and Ethan realized something important. Humans weren't inferior here. His species had a kind of creativity and adaptability that complemented hers perfectly. He could think in ways she didn't, improvise solutions, and understand problems from a perspective she hadn't considered. Together, they were stronger than either alone. As night fell again over the station, they paused. Ethan leaned against a console, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra floated beside him, her glow soft, almost peaceful. "You work well with me," she said, the translator's voice calm. Few humans capable." Ethan smiled. "Thanks, but I think it's more than that. We learn from each other. We understand each other, even if it takes time." She tilted her head, a small movement of curiosity. "Time, humans."
Learn quickly. You write.
They shared a quiet moment, the hum of the station around them. Ethan realized that despite the danger, despite the unknowns, he felt safe with her. She trusted him, and in a way, he trusted her too. It was a bond that transcended species, language, and even the vastness of space. But the station's sensors were not quiet for long. A subtle alert blinked on the console. Ethan frowned. "That's strange."
"Something's approaching. I don't think it's part of the station."
Lyra's glow shifted, becoming more intense, sharper. The translator interpreted, "Threat approaching, unknown. Humans need caution." Ethan's mind raced. Could it be another alien? Something from her species? Or worse, something hostile?
"Okay," he said, his voice steady despite the tension.
We stay calm. We assess. We respond. Together, they watched the readings. Something was moving in the sector. Fast, precise, and intelligent. Ethan realized that their work on the ship had not gone unnoticed. Whatever this was, it was tracking Lyra, and it might be dangerous. Lyra floated closer, her glow forming patterns that Ethan had come to recognize as urgency. "Prepare, humans. We must act." Ethan nodded. He grabbed tools, devices, anything that could help defend or protect the ship. "We'll do it together," he said. "Humans. We figure things out. The next hours would test them. but Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had already learned so much, not just about alien technology, but about trust, courage, and the strength of cooperation. He had no doubt that, with Lyra by his side, they could face whatever was coming. And somewhere deep in his mind, he realized that this was only the beginning of a story far larger than either of them, a story where humans could shine in ways the universe had never imagined. Ethan's heart pounded as he stared at the blinking alert on the station console. The approaching object moved unnervingly fast, weaving through the station's sensor field like it knew every corner in advance. Lyra hovered beside him, her glow pulsing rapidly, patterns flashing in sharp sequences that Ethan had learned to interpret as urgency and caution.
What is it? Ethan asked, though he already knew the answer. It was something alien, something intelligent, and probably dangerous.
Unknown. Threat, Lyra said softly, her voice melodic but tense. It searches for me. Humans must prepare. Ethan's mind raced. He scanned the console, comparing the energy signatures of the approaching entity with known ships in the database. Nothing matched. Its speed, the way it seemed almost alive, and the irregular but precise energy bursts. It was unlike anything he had ever seen.
"We can't let it reach you," Ethan said, thinking fast. "We need a plan! We need—"
something clever. Lyra's glowing patterns shifted into a sequence he had learned meant agreement. She hovered over the ship, guiding Ethan toward systems he didn't yet fully understand. He realized that she trusted him not just to help her ship, but to protect her, and that realization gave him both pride and a heavy sense of responsibility.
"First, we need to stabilize your ship's shields," Ethan said. "Can you help me channel energy into them?"
Yes, she replied, but must coordinate carefully. Ethan adjusted controls and readouts, directing Lyra with gestures and simple words. She floated near the console, her fingertips brushing lightly over panels that glowed and hummed in response. He could feel the energy shifting through the ship, responding to her touch, aligning with his adjustments. The station's warning alarms grew louder. The object was closer. Ethan could see it now on the sensors. A dark, sleek craft, much smaller than Lyra's ship. But its energy readings were extreme, almost corrosive. It moved like a predator, circling, probing, waiting. "We don't have much time," Ethan said, glancing at Lyra. "We have to make it defendable, at least long enough to get away." She tilted her head, a glowing pattern rippling across her arms. "Yes. Humans, think quickly. We improvise." Ethan smiled slightly. That was what humans were good at, improvising under pressure. He scanned the workshop area and the storage compartments of the station. He pulled out whatever devices could emit energy bursts, reflective panels, or anything that could confuse the approaching ship's sensors. "Okay," he said, his mind working like a machine. "We'll create a false energy signature.
Make it look like your ship is in one spot while we move in another. Then we'll launch countermeasures to slow it down."
Lyra hovered closer, her glow forming intricate patterns of approval. Together, they began coordinating the defense. Ethan set up a series of small devices that would emit bursts of energy similar to Lyra's ship. He attached reflective panels in strategic positions to scatter sensor readings. Lyra synchronized with him, channeling energy through her suit to stabilize the decoys and make them appear real. As they worked, the approaching ship reacted. Its energy pulses accelerated, sensing the interference, trying to find the real target. Ethan's palms were sweaty, but his mind was sharp. Every adjustment, every small tweak had to be perfect. One mistake, and they could be in serious danger.
"Almost ready," Ethan said, checking the final device. "When I trigger this, it will look like the ship is jumping to another location."
You must follow the signal exactly, or it will detect you. Lyra's patterns flashed rapidly, a sign of acknowledgement. Understood?
Humans are clever.
He smiled faintly. "Thanks. Now let's hope we're clever enough." He pressed the trigger.
A burst of energy shot out from the devices, and the decoys lit up the sensor field. For a moment, everything was chaotic. The approaching ship's pulses darted around, trying to identify the real target. Lyra's glow synchronized with the decoys, creating a convincing illusion. Then Ethan engaged the ship's propulsion. Lyra's craft lifted smoothly, energy flowing from her suit into the ship, aligning perfectly with his calculations. The vessel seemed to come alive, responding to their combined commands. Ethan felt a thrill. Humans were holding their own, even against an unknown threat. The predator-like ship reacted, making a sudden movement, accelerating toward one of the decoys. Ethan held his breath. The decoy released a final pulse, scattering energy in a blinding flash. For a second, the pursuing ship faltered, its sensors confused. "Yes!" Ethan shouted quietly, adrenaline surging. "It's working!" Lyra's glow pulsed brightly, almost like laughter. She emitted a melodic sound, the translator interpreting. Humans, capable, resilient.
Ethan smiled, feeling a warm rush of pride. They were working together. Human ingenuity and alien technology, trust, and quick thinking.
He realized that humans could survive and thrive even in the face of danger, not just by strength, but by creativity, adaptability, and cooperation. But the danger was far from over. The pursuing ship adjusted again, moving faster, more aggressively. Ethan's mind raced. They couldn't outrun it forever. They needed a way to outsmart it completely. He noticed a small storage bay in the station, filled with experimental energy projectors. It was risky, but he had an idea. "We can use those," he said, pointing. "If we channel your energy through them, we can create a temporary field strong enough to push it back. But we have to coordinate perfectly." Lyra tilted her head, patterns shifting in what Ethan now recognized as excitement. "Yes, humans, daring. We try." Together, they moved quickly. Ethan calibrated the projectors, while Lyra channeled energy from her suit into the devices. The hum of the station grew louder as energy built to levels Ethan had never worked with before. Sparks danced across panels, lights flickered, and the air itself seemed charged. Ethan stepped back, taking a deep breath. "Ready?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra replied. "Now, humans." "Act!" He activated the projectors. A wave of energy surged through the corridor and into the station's outer hull. The pursuing ship hit the field and recoiled. Its movement slowed dramatically. Ethan and Lyra watched as it struggled to regain control. But the energy field disrupted its navigation systems enough for them to escape. They moved quickly, using the confusion to propel Lyra's ship away from the station and toward open space. Ethan felt a surge of exhilaration. They had survived, not through brute force, but through brains, courage, and teamwork. As the threat receded, Lyra's glow softened, and the translator interpreted her melodic sound. Humans. Clever, brave, trust, earned. Ethan smiled, feeling both relief and awe. "We did it," he said.
We survived.
Together. They floated in silence for a moment, the stars stretching endlessly around them. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also a new awareness. The universe was larger and more complex than he had ever imagined. And yet, humans had a place in it, not just as explorers or workers, but as beings capable of ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. "I think we make a good team," he said finally, his voice quiet but sincere. Lyra's glow pulsed softly. "Yes, humans. Capable. Together, strong." Ethan realized then that this partnership was more than just survival. It was a bridge between species, between worlds, between ideas. Humans had the ability to understand, adapt, and collaborate in ways that could surprise even the most advanced civilizations. As they traveled further into space, Ethan couldn't help but marvel at the vastness around them. Planets, stars, and nebulae stretched infinitely, each one a mystery, a challenge, a possibility. And here he was, a human, working alongside an alien being, facing threats and solving problems in ways he had never thought possible. Lyra floated close, her glow calming, her patterns now gentle and rhythmic. She spoke softly. Humans. Your species. Surprising. You. Learn. Adapt. Protect. Endure. Ethan smiled. We try, he said. Sometimes we fail, but we always try. And sometimes we succeed. Like today. Her glow brightened slightly, the translator interpreting. Today, humans succeeded. Together, strong. Future possible. Ethan felt a surge of hope. He knew that the universe was full of unknown dangers, unknown species, and unknown challenges. But he also knew that humans had something special. Courage, creativity, empathy, and the ability to think and act together when it mattered most. As the stars streaked past their viewport, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning Lyra's people waited for. His station, and perhaps humanity itself, had a role to play in a story far bigger than either of them. And he was ready to face it, not alone, but with trust, knowledge, and the courage that humans had always shown when confronted with the unknown. For the first time, he felt that humans were not just passengers in the galaxy. They were active participants, capable of leaving a mark, capable of making a difference, capable of shining even in the darkest reaches of space. And somewhere, deep in his mind, he knew that this was only the start of a journey that would test every skill, every instinct, and every quality that made humans remarkable. But with Lyra by his side and his determination guiding him, he felt certain that they could overcome anything, face any threat, and discover truths that no human had ever imagined. As silence returned, Ethan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra floated beside him, her glow steady and soft. Together, they stared at the stars, knowing that danger might return, but also knowing that humans had the ability to rise, to think, and to act in ways that could surprise even the universe itself. The stars streaked past Lyra's ship as it glided through the void of space, the hum of the engines almost soothing after the chaos they had survived. Ethan sat at the control console, exhausted but alert, his fingers resting lightly on the controls. Lyra hovered nearby, her glow calm and rhythmic, the patterns on her skin reflecting both relief and focus. They had escaped the pursuing craft, survived the threat, and stabilized her ship. But the journey was far from over. Lyra's people were waiting, and they would not tolerate delays. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had no idea what awaited them, but he knew humans had a chance to show themselves as capable allies. You, humans, brave, Lyra said softly, her voice melodic. The translator interpreted each word. You, adapt.
Survive. Your species.
Strong. Ethan smiled faintly. We try, he replied. Sometimes we get it wrong, but we always try to do what's right. And today, we succeeded together. She tilted her head, a pattern of glowing lines rippling across her chest. Together, trust. Humans, capable. My people will see. Ethan looked out at the expanse before them. The universe seemed endless, vast, and full of unknowns, but for the first time, he felt that humans had a place in it, not just as observers, but as active participants. His mind raced with possibilities. Human creativity, intelligence, and courage could bridge gaps between species, resolve conflicts, and build alliances across stars. As the hours passed, Lyra's ship approached a luminous nebula, its swirling colors painting the blackness of space with light and shadow. Ethan watched in awe, realizing this might be one of the last peaceful moments before they reached her people. The ship's sensors registered multiple energy signatures ahead, ships, structures, and what seemed to be a central hub of activity. They wait for me, Lyra said quietly. Caution.
Necessary humans.
Must be careful.
Ethan nodded.
Don't worry. I'll follow your lead. We'll do this together. The closer they approached, the more Ethan understood the scale of Lyra's civilization. Massive vessels floated near a crystalline station, their surfaces reflecting the nebula's light. Energy beams connected the ships like glowing threads. He realized that her people were not only advanced but also highly organized. The level of coordination and technology was staggering. This is incredible. Your people, they've built something amazing.
They survive, Lyra replied.
Adapt, endure. Humans understand?
Ethan nodded.
We do. And we can help, if you let us. She emitted a melodic sound, interpreted as a soft laugh. Help. Humans. Trust. Earned. Ethan guided the ship closer, following her instructions precisely. Lyra coordinated the docking sequence, her suit interacting seamlessly with the station's systems. Ethan marveled at the precision of her movements, the subtle ways she controlled energy and motion. Humans had strength and flexibility, creativity and quick thinking. But Lyra's species had the refinement of centuries of evolution and knowledge. Together, they complemented each other perfectly. Finally, they docked. The ship settled smoothly, lights on the station flickering in acknowledgement. Ethan exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. This was it. They had reached her people. The docking bay opened, revealing several figures similar to Lyra, their glowing forms illuminating the chamber. They moved with grace, approaching cautiously but not aggressively. Lyra floated forward, her glow softening as she communicated with them through melodic patterns. Ethan watched silently, aware of the importance of this first human-alien encounter for her species. This is Ethan, Lyra said softly. Human? Helped, saved me, guided ship. The alien's glow shifted, a pattern Ethan recognized as recognition, and perhaps respect. One stepped forward, larger and brighter than the others, and spoke through the translator. You aided Lyra. Humans. Unusual.
Your courage noted.
Ethan's pulse quickened.
I only did what I thought was right, he said. She trusted me.
I wanted to help. The alien studied him for a moment, then extended a glowing hand. Trust, humans. Rare. Your species. Capable. You. Join us cautiously. Learn. Understand.
Help, if you wish.
Ethan swallowed hard. This was more than he had expected. Humans had been recognized as capable allies by an entirely new species. He nodded firmly. Yes, I want to help, want to learn. And I want to make sure humans and your people can work together. Lyra's glow brightened, a pattern of gratitude and pride radiating from her. Humans, respected, future, possible. The next hours were filled with introductions, explanations, and cautious collaboration. Ethan learned about the technology of Lyra's species, their communication methods, and their approach to energy and space navigation. He marveled at the complexity, but he also realized that human creativity could complement their precision. Simple but flexible solutions, small improvisations, and quick thinking could often achieve what sheer technological advancement could not. He demonstrated some human problem-solving techniques, showing how they could modify energy flows, redirect power, or stabilize systems using methods Lyra's people had not considered. They watched in fascination, recognizing the ingenuity, and slowly, trust began to grow between them.
This humans, adaptable, the leader said finally.
We underestimated your species. Creativity, useful. Courage, essential. Together, strong. Ethan smiled. Thank you. I think, together, we can do amazing things. And I don't come as braces and Ka. Learn from each other. Protect each other. Explore. Together, Lyra floated beside him, her glow shimmering softly. She whispered through the translator. Humans. Capable. We see. Together. Hope. For the next days, Ethan worked closely with Lyra and her people, helping to repair ships, optimize energy systems, and understand patterns of navigation that were previously unknown to humans. He learned quickly, and his suggestions were valued. He realized that humans were not just passengers in the galaxy. They were problem solvers, explorers, and allies capable of surprising even the most advanced civilizations. One evening, after a long day of work, Ethan stood on a platform overlooking the nebula, watching the glowing station and the fleet of alien ships. Lyra floated beside him, her glow soft and comforting.
You humans, remarkable, she said softly.
Your species can endure, adapt, survive. You surprise others. Ethan smiled. We try. Sometimes we fail, but when it matters, we do our best. And when we work with others, we can achieve even more. She tilted her head, patterns of light shifting in a rhythm he had come to recognize as agreement and admiration. Together, strong, trust, earned. Future, possible. Ethan looked at the stars beyond the nebula. He realized that humans had a role to play in a galaxy much larger than themselves. They could build alliances, solve problems, and earn respect not just through power, but through intelligence, courage, and empathy. This is just the beginning, he said quietly. Humans, we have much to learn, but we also have something special. We can make a difference. Lyra's glow brightened, her patterns forming shapes that Ethan interpreted as affirmation. Yes, humans. Capable. Together, future, bright. As night fell over the nebula, the station and ships glowing softly, Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and the unknown. And he had succeeded. Not alone, but with trust, teamwork, and courage. Humans could rise to challenges, adapt quickly, and form bonds across species and worlds. He glanced at Lyra, floating gracefully beside him. She had trusted him, taught him, and worked with him. Together, they had overcome danger, navigated unknown technology, and earned the respect of a civilization far more advanced than their own.
You humans remarkable, Lyra said again, her voice soft, almost musical. Your species will shine.
You, capable of more than you know. Ethan nodded. I hope so.
I really hope so. And I hope humans can live up to that trust.
Not just for today, but for the future. For the universe. The stars stretched endlessly before them, filled with light, shadow, and possibilities. Ethan felt a thrill of excitement. This was more than adventure. It was a chance to prove that humans could shine in the vastness of space, that they could learn, adapt, and cooperate with beings far beyond themselves, that they could rise to challenges, inspire trust, and build a future worth exploring. As he watched the alien ships maneuver gracefully around the station, Ethan realized something profound. Humans were not weak, insignificant, or easily forgotten. They were capable, brave, and ingenious. They could face threats, protect allies, and create bridges between civilizations. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the station and the soft glow of the nebula, he knew that this partnership with Lyra, this first human-alien alliance, was the beginning of a story that would span stars, challenge boundaries, and show the universe the potential of humanity. He turned to Lyra, her glow soft and steady.
We did it, he said. Together.
And this is only the start. She emitted a final melodic sound, interpreted by the translator. Yes, together, humans, capable, universe, watching. Future possible, Ethan smiled. He had never felt more certain of anything in his life. Humans had a role in the galaxy, a chance to prove themselves, and an opportunity to build trust, hope, and alliances across the stars. For the first time, he truly believed it. Humans could shine. Humans could make a difference. Humans could leave a mark that even the stars themselves could recognize. And with Lyra by his side, he knew they would face the challenges ahead. Not with fear, but with courage, intelligence, and the boundless potential of humanity.